I am great mother.
Cancer moon sign people, wow, you are the star of this nodal season with Capricorn, where the new moon is. You're in the North Node, and boy, it's been a ride to get to you, but finally, we are at the Cancer North Node of the collective consciousness, where we're growing, where we're evolving, the area of celestial consciousness dealing with the home, the house, the mother, feeling at home, feeling at home today in a generation where we can determine where our house and our home is at will. Even our parentage to a certain degree as well is quite a mind-blowing experience. And so all of us are going through this reawakening. And so as we do that, I want us to be reminded that here at Great Mother Speaks, we don't just look at the surface of the moon, we go deep into it. And so for most of you Cancer moon sign people, as deep as you are being ruled by the moon in terms of your emotions, we want to also remember that your soul sign for most of you, your sidereal, your Vedic moon sign, is Gemini. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, and although that's not playing a real big role at this time, even though it's around Capricorn at this time as well. The moon obviously is with the solar eclipse, and so you are the emotional harbinger for the collective consciousness. How you're feeling at this time is really a guidepost. I want you to look at the spread that we have going here with your Akhenaten card in the center. Of course, Akhenaten was the first planetary ruler to institute the worship of the one God. And we have in this position your shadow, what you feel is a flaw, perhaps, that you have, but you would rather others not know. Maybe you don't even want to acknowledge about yourself. Internal struggles, internal battles, we all have them. It's a part of our evolutionary process, the purification process. This is the position of the shadow. This is the position of what's bringing up your shadow at this particular time. What is causing it to surface as the focus for this illumination, excuse me, this illumination period of the inner illumination of this solar eclipse, and what you desire in the process of this inciting moment. What is the situation that is coming up? Why is it coming up? And what do you desire from this situation? What are the obstacles in fulfilling that desire? And this position is, what is at stake if your desires aren't fulfilled? And why should you do the inner work of the significator? What's showing up for you is the true T right now, and the inner work around that, why you need to do that. And what you'll gain from doing that inner work is this position here. Of course, Great Mother is concerned with our inner work, our emotional ego work, and our intuitive work, our ego soul alignment. This is how and when that inner work is likely to occur, and what your likely outcome is as a result of doing it. So, Cancer moon sign people, you obviously are looking at a story that's going on in your life that's requiring the inner work around the law of mystery and divine order. This law reminds us that regardless of how crazy and chaotic things are, there are soul contracts that are activated from our pre-incarnation, and we are playing them out. Everything has a reason, everything has an order to it. Now, this is not about fate, because of course we have free will. This is about aligning the ego, body, mind with that will, which is the soul. The soul is truly what has the free will. The ego, the emotion, is directionless. It doesn't have that kind of power unless it is aligned with the soul. And so what you're feeling from your emotion is that you want to hide, or that you are struggling with, you don't want others to know, or you're not acknowledging in yourself, is that it's really time for you to take responsibility for the intuitive unctions that you're receiving. What you know, you know, you know. There are some things. Remember, we're looking at where we are and where we want to be at this time in our lives. Not just because it's a new year, but because a solar eclipse really is an inner excavational process. And it's very precise in its configurations and transits, as we have discussed here so far. And so when Great Mother comes with what's in your shadow, is that you're not acknowledging a need to take responsibility for where you are. It's because you don't understand how important it is for you to do that at this time. And what does that mean? Well, that means that how you are responding to this situation, maybe there's a feeling of injustice. Maybe there's a feeling of obviously things shouldn't be the way they are. You know, there's a mystery, or I don't understand what's going on. But the law, the logos, the word, the great father energy, the third quarter moon energy, the yang energy is saying it's time to release a need to know. It's time to release a need for things to be other than they are. There is a higher will at work here. And your gut chakra is your lower will, and your lower will is in conflict with that in some way. But this being a Waning and Gibbous moon card means that you are willing to accommodate another perspective. You are willing to take responsibility. It's just that it hasn't come out yet in your actual physical life yet. You haven't really acted on that willingness at this particular time. This new moon energy of Durga at this specific time is bringing this up to the surface, because the situation at hand bespeaks a need to establish very clear boundaries. You don't have clear boundaries around whatever is causing you to feel that you have not been treated fairly, or that life isn't treated you fairly. There's some boundaries either you need to establish with people and maintain, or that others need to establish with you, so that there's clarity in the relationship. Now, this new moon is happening in your 7th house, and so of course we're talking about relationships. We're talking about personal and professional relationships, but we're also specifically talking about agreements that you have. And so this soul contract again is coming up. For you, I would say that this is very emotional at this time. I don't see any Gemini energy here. So I don't see any Mercurial energy here that governs Gemini, which for most of you would be your sidereal soul sign. This is all very emotional energy. And so you have this two gut, heart below energy here. From your gut, you feel, you sense, you know that it's time to make some changes, but you haven't quite done that yet. This new moon is going to clarify for you what those changes could be, or what they should be for you. And what you're hoping, what you're desiring at this time is that in the process of establishing these boundaries, that you let go of some of the guilt, shame, and blame around your relationship with your mother. Remember, the relationship that we have with our mothers in particular is the foundation of how we relate to others. So schoolmates when we're young, later in life, people that we work with, people that we marry, people that we partner with, we have the same dynamic until or unless we heal the dynamic that we grew up with, or that we change it, or by our own personality, it doesn't hold that much of a conditioned sway over us. And so for you, I would say that your desire is to release that conditioned sway that that relationship has over you at this particular time. And what's at stake if you are not able to release that is that you will continue to be in fear. There's a fear, there's a intimidation about really following your gut, really following your desires. This Ankh represents the second chakra. And so there's a tendency here to not really feel like you are able to follow this unction, to take responsibility for what you know need to be the boundaries in your life. And boundaries simply let you know and you let others know what's okay and what's not okay for you. And for whatever reason, until or unless you let go of the conditioned guilt, shame, blame that you have as a result of your relationship with your mother, you're going to continue to be fearful of relationships, of the current contracts that you have this anxiety around your life, because our lives are made up of relationships, aren't they? Now, looking at this a little closer, this is waning gibbous moon energy, and this has to do with a lot of times with the second chakra, the fantasy mother, the mother that we want. And so, of course, healing mama drama trauma is letting go of the mother that we want. And your significator card is third quarter moon, which is release. It's about letting go of the mother that we want in order to accept the one that we have. And so, realizing that she is who she is, that she has the limitations that she has. We have this Saturnal energy conjunct Pluto with this eclipse, and so there's a lot of support for a very powerful, transformative release of this conditioned energy of holding on to this fantasy of a mother that is keeping you from establishing boundaries, because that's hard, right? Establishing boundaries, letting people know what's okay and what's not okay, and especially with our mothers. But until and unless we do that, we're not able to move on in our lives, and that's what you're wanting to do. You're wanting to let that go, but we can't have our cake and eat it too. We can't release the conditioning and still maintain this fantasy perspective of our mothers. We have to do the work of really allowing her to be who she is and allowing ourselves to forgive her as we forgive ourselves for wanting her to be something else. And as we do that, establishing, defining, and maintaining whatever boundaries we need to stay safe, to stay well, to live with hope and aspiration, and not limiting ourselves because of this fantasy tendency is what I call it in my work. It's natural. It's natural for us to justify the MDT. It's natural for us to justify the mama, to justify the drama, to justify the trauma. That's what we've been conditioned to do. That's what she's done all of her life. And she's perpetuating MDT, as probably we are as parents, because we haven't yet healed by acceptance and forgiveness. And so that's what Great Mother is speaking, and she's coming through and she's saying that here for you what's happening is that the reason you need to do the inner work, Cancer moon sign people, is because it's time for you to leave a bad situation. So maybe you're living with your mother, maybe she has, again, this really powerful sway over your life, influence, that is just no longer tenable. It's just not tenable because it's not allowing you to take responsibility for your own life. You have two waning gibbous moon cards here. That's all about, sacrificing. Sacrificing something of value for something of greater value, and the beauty and the blessing of it. This comes after the full moon. And so the full moon is the release, and so the release is the sacrifice, right? And so there's a beauty and there's a bounty in the waning gibbous moon. There's a sharing and there's a thanksgiving from what we do have from the full moon illumination. And so I would say after this full moon, which is a lunar eclipse, Great Mother will come back, will circle back with you, Cancer moon sign people. And she's going to, as she is now, encourage you to take responsibility for what you know needs to happen. There needs to be boundaries with your mom in order for you to leave that fearful situation. It's acknowledging the mystery. There's a law of mystery and divine order. This is a Great Father card. All the Great Father cards are third quarter moon cards. They're release cards, letting go. This is all about release. Even though it's a solar eclipse, it is in the south node. It's conjunct the south node. And even in the sidereal with the nakshatra Mul. Mul is ruled by Ketu. And it's about destruction. It's about dissemination and dissolution. It's about, being unconventional and responsive to reality, transformative. It's also about being trusted by those in high positions of power because you are living in reality. The deity for this nakshatra is Nriti, the god of dissolution and destruction. It is symbolized by an elephant whip, moving big things, making big things happen. It's a bundle of roots, bundled together. Sometimes you see herbs bundled together, but the roots is the symbol, and it's pulling things up and making the best of it. Pulling things up and making the best of it. This is root chakra, Pachamama. And that root chakra is about grounding and security. You don't feel grounded, you don't feel secure. Earth Mother energy is going to give you the love and the nurturing that you need at this time. So spending time outside, breathing the air, allowing your receptors to expand to greater and more loving expressions of the maternal energy in your life. So you're going to need other mothers. The Great Mother Speaks Oracle deck might be very useful for you at this particular time so that you can have her messages over and over again about situations so that you can have that maternal guidance that you're not getting at this time. Or a reading or your own readings or whatever practice that you do, you're going to need to go into that yin space a lot now, because that's where you're going to get that nurturing that you need. And this is what you're going to gain from doing this inner work. You're going to gain double yin. You're going to gain more feminine insight, more intuitive insight. You're going to be more in touch with your body, what's really going on with you. This is the law of Divine Father. And the law of Divine Father follows the inspiration of Great Mother Spirit. Okay, Great Father Spirit is the manifester, the physical manifester. Great Mother Spirit is the spiritual inspiration for our actions. And so that's what you're going to get from it. You're going to get more inspiration. You've been feeling kind of, there have been some things that have pushed you around and pushed you down, and this oppressive energy. Again, the foundation of our seventh house energy is that fourth house squaring energy of the mother, and you are Cancer moon, and so all of your relationships are based on your relationship with your mother. And so as that heals, as you heal that inner relationship to the mother spirit, okay, through the Dagda, of course, the Celtic father, the father of the Celtic pantheon of gods. is a warlike figure as well as a great maternal father figure as well. Um, he played the harp and he carried a big hammer, very balanced in his energies. And so that's what Great Mother is calling you to do with this very strong Martian energy, gut chakra energy, is follow your gut and also balance that with the second chakra energy that is, Jupiter, Piscean, Sages energy, wisdom, to ground yourself with the Saturn conjunct the South Node, that's going to be in effect for quite a while, for several months of this year. So for 2019, looking at where you are and where you want to be moving away from MDT denial if you're still there. And if you are acknowledging your MDT, then moving away from the triggers and tailspins of the mama, the drama, the trauma by establishing these boundaries. And by doing that inner work, you're working with the law of mystery and divine order, because MDT is a soul contract. Okay, we agree to have this experience with each other in order to mutually assist our evolution and self-love and spiritual independence. And so your mother is helping you to do that. And so you are doing your part now by taking responsibility for doing this inner work. Now, how and when will this work occur? Well, this work is occurring now. This is balsamic moon energy, and so balsamic moon is right before the new moon. And for some of you, it will take about a month for you to kind of move into the realization after these eclipses of this month that you're going to need to do that. Okay, some of us need a little bit more convincing than others, depending on our sun sign and our ascendant, okay? And so you might want to check out the videos to see if any of that resonates with you for your sun sign and ascendant sign as well, because this timing of acknowledgement is really important as you move forward with what you are releasing. Boundaries are about release. Boundaries are about clarity. And so maybe if you are already clear about the kind of boundaries you need to have with your mom, like say, for example, again, you're living with your mom and the boundary needs to be, well, okay, from now on I pay these bills and you pay these, or actually I'm going to be moving in, February or March or May or whatever. Or, this is the kind of conversations I will entertain, and this is the kind of dialogue I want to entertain, or whatever it is. If you're already there, you've arrived at that place before this eclipse, and this eclipse is going to expedite your process of taking responsibility for the mystery and divine order of this. If you will be coming to this process during these eclipses, then you will be acknowledging what those boundaries need to be by the end of the month. Okay? And your likely outcome from doing this inner work is integrity. You will be holding your integrity, Cancer moon sign people. You will be standing in, you will be living in your personal truth. Our personal truth is something that cannot be taken away from us. It is ours, and it is worth protecting. Excuse me. It's the basis of our sincerity, and it's also the basis of our sanity as well, because it allows us to have workable boundaries. It allows us to clearly articulate what our needs are, what is okay with us and what is not okay, and why. Not that we have to have explanations, but sometimes they're useful in cultivating clarity in our communications. So where you are is different depending on who you are watching this at this time. But where you want to be, it would seem that Great Mother is saying that you want to be in a place of acceptance. You want to be in a place of surrender to what you have learned and acceptance of that, and to go deeper into the wisdom that has brought you to this place so that you can experience more of that eternal grace and mercy that's available for you on your journey to and through your desired self-creation. Thanks so much for watching, sharing, and liking, but above all and most of all, remember, Great Mother loves you, and I do too.
Great Mother Holy Spirit,